What's up, you guys? Welcome to a very special video. We are here in Las Vegas to review the new Toyota GR Corolla. But before we do that, let's revisit a car that's been on my channel quite a few times. This is my buddy Kevin's 2022 Toyota GR86 base model, and we're gonna drive this before hopping into the Corolla to see just how much DNA is shared between the two. Now, obviously, I own a 2022 Subaru BRZ, so I'm quite familiar with this platform. Now, the owner Kevin is also reviewing that GR Corolla for his YouTube channel, Jabal and Cars, and I'll put the link to his channel in the video description. Now, with Toyota releasing all these amazing GR products lately, I've got to say, we as car enthusiasts are pretty damn lucky. And I would argue that the GR86 is still the purest of the three models between the Corolla, this car, and the Supra. This is a front-engine, naturally aspirated rear-wheel drive machine, whereas those other two cars are tainted, if you will, by all-wheel drive systems, turbochargers, and extra heft. This car has a Subaru-built Boxer 4 engine, 2.4 liters. It's rated for 228 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. So not an immensely powerful engine, but you have to remember this car weighs a little over 2,800 pounds, which in modern times is a very lightweight car. And it has the purity of rear-wheel drive, a 6-speed manual transmission, and a rear Torsen limited slip differential. This particular car is a base model GR86, so it's got the Michelin Primacy all-season tires. The only mods Kevin has done to it are a Jackson Racing oil cooler and some upgraded CSG brake pads, along with some Castrol SRF fluid. Red lines at 7,400 RPM doesn't make the best sound, and in fact, Kevin disconnected the fake sound box, so all we're hearing inside the car is pure induction note, and there's not a whole lot of it. It does sound like you're stirring just a bunch of rocks in a tin can as you get closer to red line. But this car was never really about the engine. It's more just the joy of attacking corners, and that's where this car shines. This is an excellent road, I must say. The suspension of this GR86 is tuned for oversteer. That's what I love about this, even over the BRZ. It's got stiffer rear springs and shocks, as well as a larger rear anti-roll bar. And that means oversteer is just the touch of a throttle away. Like most modern cars, we have an electric power steering rack, and this is definitely one of the better ones out there. It actually gives me a reasonable amount of feedback. It loads up nicely in the corners, it has a strong on-center feel, and overall it lets you know what the front tires are doing. Easy to heel toe, good throttle response. Just such a joy to drive. These tires might not have a lot of grip, but they sure are fun. These are 17-inch wheels with a 215 section width. The NVH levels within the cabin are relatively low, definitely compared to the larger optional 18-inch wheels and Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, which are the same tires, by the way, found on that GR Corolla we're about to drive. So this GR86 in base trim has an MSRP of around $28,000. And in this day and age, what a value proposition this car really is. The only thing that I would say is comparable to this in driving dynamics, if you're into lightweight FR layout machines, would be the ND2 Mazda Miata. But as I've stated in previous videos, that car has a much more singular purpose. The GR86 is a car you can drive every day. This engine has a decent amount of pep to it. It's not a fast car, but I wouldn't say it's a painfully slow car by any means. And it also serves as such an amazing platform for a track car. In stock form, obviously there are some serious limitations with the engine cooling and the brakes and to some extent the tires. But as Kevin has demonstrated within a few months of ownership here, it's very straightforward and simple to resolve those problems. And once you have, you're left with a super fun to drive, tossable track car that can actually put out fairly competitive lap times compared to other cars in its segment. And most importantly, I would argue, the GR86 is a great learning tool. Whether you're a beginner to FR platforms, or if you're a more experienced driver like myself with 30 plus track days under my belt, the GR86 offers something for everyone, and that's the beauty of the car. And look at the way this stock suspension is able to soak up these bumps here. It's really quite impressive. All right, so that's just a quick spin and a refresher of the GR86. Now it's time to hop into that brand new GR Corolla and see if the extra money actually gives you more miles per gallon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've been waiting for, the new Toyota GR Corolla. This is a core model, which is the base trim, but this one happens to be fully loaded. It has the performance package, which gives us the front and rear limited slip differentials, as well as the red painted brake calipers. And it's also got the technology package, which gives us the wireless phone charger, the JBL sound system, which the owner said is absolute garbage. And it also has the cold weather package, which gives us these heated seats and a heated steering wheel. MSRP with destination is around $40,000. So over 10 grand more than that little GR86. The question is it more fun to drive? It's powered by a 1.6 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, pushing out 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. It sends that power to all four wheels via a 6-speed manual transmission. You can only get this car with a manual, whereas the GR86 you can option with an automatic. Now this all-wheel drive system, it features a center coupling that allows you to manually adjust the torque split between the front and rear axles using this dial just behind the shift lever. It's currently set to 30% front, 70% rear, and we've got the car in sport mode. With that out of the way, let's see how the Corolla drives. Nice surge of torque from 3,000 RPM. It seems to die off a bit closer to 6,000, and the red line is a little over 6,500 RPM. Definitely has a lot more shove than the GR86. And you can make the argument that the GR Corolla is more Toyota than the GR86, because obviously this engine has been fully developed and built by Toyota, not Subaru. This engine doesn't make a whole lot of sound. There's no active sound enhancement here, and there's barely any intake noise. Not a whole lot of turbo whooshes and whistles either. It's a very mild sounding power plant. Now the steering is a little bit on the lighter side. I would say it could use a little bit more weight to this EPS rack. Similar in weighting to the GR86, but unfortunately there's less information about the road surface coming in through the wheel. Doesn't have quite as much feedback. This 6-speed manual, however, is a highlight of this car. It does seem to have a slightly more mechanical and slick feeling shift action compared to the GR86. The straight line performance of this car is pretty good. It's not mind-boggling, and compared to the FL5 Type R, it does feel a little bit down on power, especially towards the red line. But that's a video topic for another day. Like the GR86, this car has fixed dampers. There's no adjustable suspension modes here. But I would say it feels pretty well suited to canyon driving as well as daily driving. It's a nice balance. It soaks up these bumps with no problem. Brake pedal feel is really quite good. Nice linear pedal. I suspect this car won't require extensive brake mods, or at least not a big brake kit, to have fun on track. I love that this car provides water temps, oil temps, and oil pressure. Love that torque. There definitely is a little bit of lag below 3K, but the power band I would say is still pretty wide. It's usable. Between 3,000 and 6,000, you've got plenty of power to work with. But even within its power band, there is a little bit of a delay when I first put my foot down. This turbo 3-cylinder is heavily boosted and you can feel it. It takes a while for that turbo to spool up. Whether that's a good or bad thing is up to you. Personally, I like that instant throttle response. Some people like the drama of a heavily turbocharged engine. If only this engine made a little bit more noise, I could better tell what it was doing. It's honestly really quiet. I think if I was on track with a helmet, I wouldn't be able to hear the engine at all. That's something I'm sure the aftermarket will fix. Now we've got some Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires on some 18-inch wheels. They're 235 all around, and they provide a nice meaty sidewall that helps this car really just soak up the bumps really well, in conjunction with the suspension. All the controls in this car, the driver controls, are very light. Feels like you can just grab it by the scruff of its neck and just throw it around in true rally car fashion. This car just feels so planted, so stable. It doesn't want to be upset at all. Whereas that GR86, the rear axle just wanted to move around over every crest, every little bit of gravel on the road even. This all-wheel drive system is nice. It's not going to give you gobs of oversteer. This car is not something that wants to oversteer on throttle. I suspect in order to get this car to oversteer, you're better off lifting off the throttle mid-corner very aggressively, or maybe doing a Scandinavian flick or two. Now before we continue driving, let's talk about the interior of the GR Corolla. I have to say it is nowhere near as premium feeling as the new FL5's interior. It does have a lot more scratchy plastics. I'm not a fan of this piano black gloss trim around the infotainment system and the HVAC controls, but overall it's a very intuitive interior. This touchscreen is very large and easy to use. All the controls fall to hand very well. I do really like this fully digital dash. It's very clear, easy to read, but I will say the seating position in this car is too high. I have the seat as low as it'll go. And while the seat itself is pretty nice, it's pretty deeply bolstered. I would say they're on par with the GR86 seats, but I do feel like I'm sitting an inch or two too high. Overall interior quality is on par with the GR86, so make of that what you will. If you like that interior, this interior will feel right at home. But if you're expecting something more premium, more fitting perhaps of a $40,000 car, this is obviously not the car for you. All right, let's do one more run here and bring it back. It just feels so stable. Cannot get it to misbehave. Tiny bit of turn in understeer there, but that could largely just be due to these Pilot Sport 4 tires not having a ton of grip. Look at the way it just soaks up this horribly paved road. Let's try to change it over to track mode, which is 50-50, and see if that makes a discernible difference. So much traction. You never have to worry about wheel spin in first gear. Whereas the GR86 just wants to blow its tires right off if you're a little too aggressive with the throttle. Track mode feels not all that different, if I'm being honest. I think on this road, we're just not able to fully explore the grip limits of the car. Whether you're in 50-50 mode or 30-70 mode, this car is very confidence inspiring. I haven't tried 60-40 mode because that's the more tame drive mode. Why would I want more understeer on throttle? This car just gives me so much confidence. That's the word I keep using. Everything about it, the front to rear balance, the brakes, the suspension, the way it soaks up bumps, the light controls. It's a car that's really easy to just hop into, like I am for the first time, and drive really hard. Very low learning curve to the GR Corolla. So back to the question at hand, GR86 or GR Corolla, it's gonna come down to your preferences as a driver. I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but the driving dynamics between these two cars are polar opposite. The GR86 is not necessarily about giving you stability through a corner. It wants to step out. It wants to dance with you. It wants you to play with little bits of oversteer depending on your throttle, brake, and steering inputs. This GR Corolla, not the case. It'll give you a little bit of safety understeer, but overall it's just a very neutral, again, confidence-inspiring car to drive. I wish it had a little bit more adjustability on throttle. Specifically, I wish you could kick the tail out with just the throttle. I know this manual handbrake here will disconnect the rear axle and allow you to get some oversteer that way, but I wish the car was just naturally more inclined to be a playful dance partner. As a driver, I like knowing that when I screw something up, or if I get something really right, it's because I did it and not the car. Not to take away from this car's competence, but it's just not quite the same level of driving engagement or driver pleasure that I was hoping this platform would provide. Now that being said, guys, let me know what you think of the new GR Corolla. And if you've driven a GR86 and a GR Corolla, let me know how you think these two cars compare. Now, once I get back to the Bay Area, I'll have more opportunities to review the GR Corolla and compare it against other cars like the FL5 Type R. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you have not already. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.